gaming. Before, in the old days, when you used to buy your Sega Mega or buy your like new super fast PC at the time, which was like 200 hertz fast, there was a big barrier to entry. So you needed to buy a big device, and you had to buy a game, and then you're used to non-ad kind of gameplay. And particularly for developers nowadays, they are really, really passionate about their games, and they don't want to think of monetization until at a later stage. And that's the problem in that mindset, because monetization inherently is tied into the gameplay itself. It has to start from the bottom up, because you can't start building a building and then you decide you need like a whole new kind of lounge in the building on the last floor. So you really need to think from the ground up. And here are some of the myths that people talk about monetization. So people think that it bothers users. People think that ads actually hurt the user experience. And all these myths I'm going to bust with some numbers and examples, actually. And then that a lot of people actually think that monetizing with in-app purchases in the game is the only kind of nice way to monetize, because it's an opt-in version of monetization. But that's also false, and some developers also think that they really try to crack one monetization strategy, and they try to apply it to all their games and all their audience. And that also doesn't really work. So as I come from an engineering background, I thought I'd throw in a few numbers as well. And in Google, we're quite analytical, so we use a lot of numbers. So here's a myth that a lot of people think that people want really high quality apps that they can pay for, and they don't want any ads. So just to involve you a bit, in percentage, how many of the apps do you think that are downloaded today are actually paid for at the time of download? 40%. 12-15%. I see we're going lower, that's good. Like you pay to buy an app from the store. Yeah, I think we have a winner. You'll win this at the end of the presentation. So it's actually less than 1% of apps nowadays downloaded are paid for in the Play Store or the iOS store. And as you can imagine, the reason behind that is now the whole ball game, again, in the mobile developing world, is the barrier to entry, even from a developer's perspective, is so much lower. I work with some people who are in like remote villages in like East Europe and Turkey and Middle East, who just need a computer at home. They can develop a game and it becomes popular in Brazil, and then they're like superstars in Brazil. So really the barrier to entry is that you don't need any more like so much power, like so much big companies to develop cool games. You can do it from your bedroom. And at the same time, since there's so much more abundance of free apps, if you go to the App Store and see that there's an app that you have to pay 99 cents for even, which is cheaper than your coffee in the morning, you'd still think twice before doing that, because there's like probably 100 other apps on the Play Store that's free. So really people do actually want free apps. They don't want to pay for apps on the Play Store. Here's another fun fact, I guess. So a lot of people say that in-app purchase is the best strategy to go in order to monetize. So what percentage of mobile gamers do you think they actually spend money in your game? 3, 2, 1? Okay, you're all winners actually. So it depends on the research you follow. It ranges between 1 and 5%. The number I have here is 2.3% of mobile gamers actually spend in apps. So imagine like 2 out of 100 or 3 out of 100 people that pay in your game, and there's 97 other people that are free players technically that you can actually try to cater for them as well to make money. Because for me, I always look at my partners' portfolios. I really want to see like a healthy, sustainable business model, right? So you can't depend on a 2.3% income. And what if like something happens with that 2.3, like in-app purchases, that you can't get them anymore? So you really have to have a diversified kind of monetization strategy. Again, 97% users don't spend on apps. So this is the last kind of part of the myth section, which talks again about the monetization strategy and how it is important that you really have to have a very diverse strategy. And it's kind of like the cliche line, you can't put your eggs in one basket. So it's very similar to the monetization strategy. You shouldn't depend purely on one form of income. And we've seen that most successful developers actually have a really diverse kind of monetization portfolio. Now, the Google Assistant is trending recently, and last week we had an event actually in Dublin for app developers, and we were demoing the new Pixel phone or the Assistant. And at night at home, sometimes I start talking to the Assistant to try to see what she or he can do for me, and it can get quite freaky. But I encourage you guys, if you have Android or any Android phone, to try the Assistant. It's really cool. But that's a bit of a tangent. I tend to go on tangents sometimes. So now we're gonna dive into kind of more what's actually happening in the gaming world and how people are monetizing. And I chose kind of two main buckets to talk about, which are the new kind of sexy formats of ads that are really benefiting the user experience rather than traditional formats that a lot of people are against. So the first kind of bucket I want to talk about is how to have basically a seamless user experience with native ads. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with native ads, but it's basically, this is kind of the split between banner and native ads. So the traditional banners, you had all the creatives from the advertiser. You want to put it on your app, you basically can't do anything with it. You just put it in the app. So you typically have a banner like at the bottom or the top of the screen. Regardless of how your app looks, who is using your app, the banner will still look like this. Now with native ads, the reason we call them native is because they're native to the experience of the app. So we try to blend in the ad in a way that feels really natural in your app. So what happens in this case is, the advertiser actually just sends the elements of the ad itself, like the icon, some of the pictures maybe from the Play Store, the star rating, etc. And then it is up to the publisher through AdMob to basically modify how the ad looks and feels. So you can change the colors, change the font, change the call to action color, do some A/B testing, so you can play around so much more with the way the ad looks like actually in your app. And here are some examples of native ads that are currently live with some of our partners. So this is an all-time favorite for a lot of companies. So you can see at the bottom how you use actually the element from the game itself, and it just looks like he's like carrying an ad. So you can change the install button, you can change the text, etc., and blend it in with the app. So this actually looks really much cooler than in banner, I think. What do you guys think? I think so too. So here's another example of Pie Twister. Again, you can see here the kind of the background of it. It matches very well with like the gameplay itself. You can change the color to match. You can pretty much modify a lot of it. And this is one of my favorites because it's kind of one of the more advanced native ads. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Musixmatch, but it's basically a lyrics app, which whenever you fire up any song on your phone, the chat head appears with like lyrics of the song itself. And then what Musixmatch did is actually they created another bubble chat head, which contains the icon of the advertiser. And once you click on the icon of the advertiser, then in the same screen that you would normally see the lyrics, you would actually see now an ad integrated in this bubble. And you can flip back. You can either like install or like click on the button, or then you can go back to the lyrics and listen to the lyrics. So this is kind of the really more advanced that might require a bit more dev work, but it's really like kind of a very nice, seamless integration with the experience, right? Oof, I have a lot of examples actually. I heard you guys like examples, so that's why. So here again, there's like a loading screen in the game. Instead of having something traditional, you can adjust the colors to look like some elements in the game. This is from Atari. They have the in-app purchase menu, for example. So when you're scrolling through stuff you want to buy or whatever, you also have an ad here, which has the background of the ad. And here is actually a new one my colleague worked on, which is Criminal Case, which is kind of like the break the room challenge. And you can go buy stuff in order to make it easier for you to break the room. And then here you have an ad, which is simply exactly the same as the unlock button, for example, and the background color. Everything practically looks kind of very similar. And we always have the ad attribution here, so we're not trying to fool the user experience, to fool the user into clicking, but we're actually wanting them to enjoy seeing the ads rather than seeing something like flashy and colory and whatever. And generally, as you can imagine, the click-through rate and the CPMs on native ads are performing much better than traditional formats. And here there's one last example with some numbers. So this is this is a mind game app. So you play a lot of those games like the IQ building one, like you recognize the pattern or whatever. And here they traditionally used banners at the bottom, and then they decided to adopt native ads. So this is the new native ad, which looks kind of more integrated with the app. And what they saw is that the CPMs increased like 600% than traditional banners. And then by A/B testing the different position of the native ad at the top, at the bottom, and the middle, then they were able to grow their CTR by 6 times. So that's really a very easy thing to do, is just to create the native ad. We have a very simple UI for it, and then the results can be phenomenal. Now the second umbrella in terms of currently available ads is our rewarded ads. And those have proved to improve the user engagement in your app. So actually, who of you have heard of rewarded ads? Okay, some have, a bit less. So what basically rewarded ads is I don't know what you guys play, but this morning I was playing Traffic Rider, which is a motorcycle racing game. So you're racing against motorcycles, and then you're trying to dodge the van, dodge the truck, and then you suddenly don't dodge the truck, and then you die. But then you really wanted that high score, and you really want to continue, and you don't have your dad's credit card to pay for money to continue, and then suddenly the magic button appears, which is watch a video to continue the game. It feels amazing when you get that. So like this is actually, like I felt amazing when the whole rewarded ads started coming into play, because traditionally I might not have been a paying user, but now with rewarded ads, I'm actually spending more time playing the games I like to play. So that's basically the rewarded ad. Basically, instead of you reach a point in the game where you really want to continue, you either have to pay to continue, but as only 2% of you pay, the 98% can actually just watch a video and enjoy it, and then continue the game. And here's why we think that rewarded ads are really beneficial for the whole ecosystem. Because a lot of people would argue that rewarded ads just like, you make the user watch something for 30 seconds and it's not cool and whatever. But it's actually, if you look at the 3 pillars, for the users, it's quite engaging. It's an opt-in experience. They can choose not to watch the ad. They can choose to pay or not continue to play. For the advertiser, you're actually reaching engaged users. So users are looking at their screen or engaged with the game, who are going to probably be more engaged with your video ad than on other platforms. And then on the publisher side, which is like the developers, you guys, you actually gain from like higher CPMs, because the video ads are generally, the advertiser would pay a lot more for them. And then you gain also user retention. So instead of a guy leaving the game who doesn't want to pay, he can actually watch the video and stay in the game. And retention and engagement are really important metrics that a lot of developers I've seen struggle with. So that's really kind of beneficial for everyone. And this is a story close to my heart, because Pooh, I don't know if you guys know Pooh, the game. Yeah? Some of you play it? Googlers do. So Pooh is actually developed by my friend in university. So he was kind of the very, the geeky developer in university who was so smart than all of us, who already had a part-time job developing stuff in his bedroom for like third parties. And then once he went basically to a conference, to a gaming conference in Lebanon, and he didn't know that you can monetize games. Like, he had no idea about what to do with games. So he went to a conference, he heard that, yeah, like in-app purchase plus ads, like it's good mix, you can make money. So after 10 minutes of our presentation, he left. He worked 3 months, like day and night, to basically build this game. And Pooh is actually an adaptation of his alter ego in a way. So Pooh was his nickname in university. Whenever we played Counter-Strike, he used to be called Pooh. And all the sounds that the app makes is actually him recording himself. So you can imagine the kind of connection of him with the game, and how really, like, I don't know if it's supposed to look like a piece of shit, but I don't think so. Because a lot of people think Pooh is like piece of shit, but Pooh was his nickname. So you can imagine how really like passionate he was about the game. He's personally connected to the game. So it was really, really against kind of putting any ads or making money of the game. But then he did like a small trial with like, at the time, like it was banner ads at the like very limited placement with an in-app purchase model. And then he started making a lot of money. And then rewarded ads came into play, and he decided to give it a try. So this was the traditional banner, actually. And as you can imagine now, he has like a lot of money that he's too lazy to build a lot more on the game. So I'm convincing him to make this a native ad because it looks nicer. But he's just like buying apartments all over. But anyway, so what he implemented is rewarded ads. So as you can see, after you play something in the game, you can get the option to watch a video and gain some coins for watching a video. And then with the coins, you actually buy food and like change its color and buy new eyelashes and stuff. Does anyone want to guess what happened to his revenue when he started using rewarded ads on top of the traditional banner? Bear in mind that when he was only using the banner, he was probably making a day as much as I make in 1 month. So what happened when he added rewarded videos? Close. So he doubled his revenue when he added rewarded videos. So now he's making as much money as me and my other me in 1 month, in 1 day. And that's a very easy kind of implementation as well, because once you have already like an in-app purchase model as well, it's very easy to complement it with rewarded ads, because rewarded ads are meant to give you a flavor of what it feels like if you buy a pack of coins, for example. And this is when he asks you to watch a video for 30 coins. So this was actually the traffic rider I was playing in the morning I was telling you about. So he's used rewarded ads in 2 different scenarios. One is on the main screen, there's like a gift icon up there. So he gives you like free gold, I think, whenever you like their Facebook page or follow them on Twitter. And then he added the option of actually watching a video to earn 2 golds. So that's one placement, also very neatly put inside the game. And another placement is when you try to dodge the truck and you don't, you die. And then you get the option either to pay 1 gold or continue for free. And now, I mentioned this example because it's slightly different, in the sense that the first time you die, you get to watch a video for free or pay 1 gold. But the really important thing here is to understand how you should price the video versus the in-app currency. So you can't like make the video much more valuable than your in-app currency. So really the video is about like to make you feel or taste what it feels like to get to buy something. And then the second time you die, you don't get the option anymore to watch the video, and then you have to pay 3 golds. So it's kind of very nicely integrated and doesn't the videos don't cannibalize your in-app purchase revenue. They actually complement them, and they actually show people what it means, and then you probably would increase your in-app purchase as well. So it's kind of a win-win even. And now lastly, the last point I want to discuss with you is kind of how we look into the future of monetization. And again, being back on Mariusz's presentation, it's all really about the data. And we've heard probably a lot already about Firebase and how we really see that monetization moving forward is going to be more and more tailored to the different user experiences. And in order to do that, we first encourage that you really need to understand, again, your audience. But this one from like a player perspective. So you want to understand how engaged are your users? There are users that have reached like really high levels. There are users that play very often during the day. There are users that are big spenders. And we really encourage you to kind of tailor the experience for these different users very differently. And here you can see an example. Like there are some users who really like to spend in your app. So you really have to make it easy for them to see what they want to buy in your app, for example. There are users who click on ads. Actually, there's one number I forgot, I didn't include, but there's like, in the top major markets, 53% of people click on an ad every day. So there are people clicking on ads. So you just need to make use of it. And then there's a lot of other channels, but one of them that a lot of people don't even think of is users that are just evangelists of gaming or for your game, who just might not be as engaged, but maybe they have a big YouTube following, they have a big Facebook following, they might go and talk about your app. So you really need to understand also what are these users doing, where are they engaging, like how can I make it easier for them to maybe record their gameplay and put it on their YouTube channel, for example, with a video recording API. So there's so many different users, and there's, every user brings a certain value to you, and you really have to understand that value. So this is One simple kind of scenario of how we foresee Firebase being used for ad monetization, and it's by using the analytics piece and remote config that we mentioned previously. So analytics, you basically get the audience data and you build your custom audience. And then with remote config, you can actually remotely control different features and functions in the app without updating it. And how we see it used in ad monetization is that you can basically control a lot of different elements. For example, you can control the frequency of how often they see the video. For example, the traffic rider game, he just shows you one video every time you die instead of like several videos. You can also choose like what's the reward item like. So if you watch the video, do you get like 10 extra seconds or 20 extra seconds? So you can play with that. You can play with the different placements, like should I put the native ad in this menu or that menu? So all these kind of A/B tests are really, really important. And it's like you're gonna be shocked by the results you're gonna see sometimes in A/B testing. But like I've seen really crazy results even on the Google Play side by just changing an icon of a game. How like some icons perform 90% better than like other icons. And I've done A/B testing with my developers on some native ads, and simply like the color of the call to action button can have a big impact on your revenue. And then you filter everything, you plug it into AdMob, everything is simple. You run A/B tests, and then you find the ideal solution. And this is the last example I'll share, which is basically another kind of A/B test with a developer in Asia called Lunasoft. So what we did with them is, first the test is like, they just wanted to show in-app purchase. They were really not happy with ads traditionally, so they're just using in-app purchase offer wall. So it's basically a full screen where you see what you can buy from the game. So we ran a test on a random group of people. We only showed them the in-app purchase wall. This was the revenue conversion per 100. That's the amount of money they made. Now, the second test we were trying to work with them on, and it worked. So we basically told them that as Google, as we have also a lot of data about the purchasing kind of behavior of people from Google Play, from different apps. So, you know, we have a secret sauce in a way the algorithm runs that detects whether you are going to be a likely spender or not. So we know if a person with a certain confidence interval that they might be a spender. So for those people, we decided to show them only the in-app purchase offer wall because they likely are going to spend. We want to make it easy for them. We want to show them what they want. So we showed them the in-app purchase offer wall, and this was the conversion. And then for all the people who didn't see, which is 97% of people, imagine that, like the number of impressions that you've been losing on. We decided to show them interstitial ads because it was similar to the in-app purchase offer wall as it's in a full screen ad. So for all those people, we showed interstitial ads, and this was the conversion. And then this is the amount of money they made extra, which is 500% more money than what they would traditionally be showing. So again, this is one kind of teaser into how like kind of A/B testing can be used for your benefit to optimize for the user journey, in this case for the payers and for the non-payers. And lastly, what's the 5 takeaways? So first, app monetization works. Again, going back to the mindset of really connecting to the game, thinking they can't make money out of games. You have to really think from the bottom, from the moment you start creating a game, you really have to think of how to integrate basically a monetization effort in your game. Because that's how you would build a building, that's how you would do a lot of things in life. The second is you really have to diversify your monetization strategies. Again, like you can't depend on one income for an app, because if that income, something happens to it, like maybe you have one guy who's buying on your game and suddenly he ran out of his credit cards or whatever, then you don't have, like, you don't get income anymore. So really diversify your monetization strategies. And then we chatted a bit about native ads, rewarded ads. So this is all about kind of picking the right type of ad to show to the right user. Is the user really engaged? Does he really want to play more, but he doesn't want to pay, so I show him some rewarded ads, versus others, they really care about the user experience. I would rather show them native ads. So really try to optimize the right ads for the right user journey again. And then the fourth thing is, again, understanding your users as your value and their value. So again, you might have like grandmothers, you can have teenagers, you can have mothers. Like now like everybody is a gamer in the mobile world. Previously, mostly maybe teenagers would be like super into gaming, but probably grandmothers wouldn't have played. My grandma wouldn't play PlayStation with me. But now, like, I think she does play Candy Crush, for example. So now everybody is a gamer, and you really need to understand that they all bring value to you. And you really need to make sure how to extract that value and create that value from them and for them. So you create the value for them by really optimizing for their UX and showing them what they really need, and not just bombarding them randomly again with ads. So these are kind of the 5 main takeaways. If you guys have more like kind of detailed product-related questions or more technical stuff, I prefer this to be more high level, to give you really real-life examples of what I'm doing on a daily basis with my developers. But I'm happy to chat in more detail and deep dive with you in the Q&A or after. Thank you.